The room was cold, not just because of the temperature, but because of the way everyone looked at Matt Carver. He sat alone in his small apartment on Earth, staring at the screen in front of him. The news had been playing for hours now, and every channel said the same thing. Humans were banned from space travel. Matt leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his short brown hair. His jaw tightened as he listened to the reporters talk about how dangerous humans were. Unpredictable, one alien diplomat called them. Another laughed and said, more animal than civilized. On screen, a Zalari council member even made a holovid meme showing cartoon humans blowing up spaceships by accident. It wasn't fair. None of it was fair. Humans weren't perfect. They never claimed to be. But they didn't deserve this kind of treatment. The ban came after a series of incidents involving human ships. Some people thought those incidents were accidents. Others whispered that they might have been sabotage, planted evidence meant to make humans look bad. Either way, the Galactic Council, the group of powerful alien races who ruled over most of known space, had decided enough was enough. No more human ships allowed outside their solar system. No exceptions. Matt turned off the screen with a flick of his wrist. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. Streets filled with people going about their lives, unaware of what this decision really meant. Sure, some would protest, and others would cry out against injustice. But most wouldn't understand. They'd think it was temporary, that things would get better eventually, but Matt knew better. This wasn't just about punishment. It was about control. If humans couldn't explore space, they couldn't grow stronger. And if they couldn't grow stronger, they'd always be second-class citizens in the galaxy. His communicator buzzed on the table behind him. He turned around and picked it up, glancing at the name flashing on the screen. Lisa Harper. She was one of the few people he trusted completely. A brilliant engineer with a sharp tongue and an even sharper mind, Lisa had worked with Matt for years. Together they'd salvaged wrecks, repaired broken-down ships, and survived more close calls than either of them cared to remember. "What's up?" Matt asked when he answered. "You watching this garbage?" Lisa's voice came through, loud and clear, tinged with frustration. "They're treating us like kids who broke their toys." "I've seen it," Matt replied, leaning against the wall. "What do you want me to do about it?" "I don't know yet," she admitted. "But sitting here doing nothing isn't an option. We can't let them push us around like this." Matt sighed. As much as he wanted to argue, she was right. Doing nothing wasn't an option. Not for him, not for anyone who still believed in humanity's potential. But fighting back wouldn't be easy. The Council had already deployed patrols to enforce the ban. Any human ship caught violating it would be seized, its crew arrested or worse. "I'll think of something," Matt said finally. "But I need help." "Already ahead of you," Lisa replied. "I'm calling Danny and Jamal too. Meet me at the hangar in an hour." The line went dead before Matt could respond. He stared at the communicator for a moment, then slipped it into his pocket. Lisa was right. They needed a plan. And if anyone could come up with one, it was her. An hour later, Matt arrived at the hangar, where the Wanderer was docked. It wasn't much to look at, a patched-up old freighter with scorch marks along its hull and mismatched panels covering repairs. But it was fast, reliable, and had gotten them out of trouble more times than Matt cared to count. Lisa was already there, standing next to Danny Reyes, their pilot. Danny was quiet by nature, preferring to let his flying do the talking. With dark hair and calm eyes, he seemed almost too relaxed for someone facing such a huge problem. Next to him stood Jamal Ellis, their weapons expert. Tall and broad-shouldered, Jamal had a dry sense of humor that often lightened the mood during tense situations. "All right," Matt began as he joined them. "Let's hear it. What's the plan?" Lisa crossed her arms. "We go rogue." That got everyone's attention. Even Danny raised an eyebrow. "We can't stay here," Lisa continued. "If we do, we'll end up stuck on Earth forever. But if we leave now while the Council's still setting up patrols, we might have a shot at proving them wrong." "And how exactly are we supposed to do that?" Jamal asked, frowning. We follow the signal, Lisa said simply. What signal? Matt asked. She pulled up a holographic display projecting a map of nearby star systems. A blinking red dot appeared near the edge of known space. This signal, she explained. It's coming from a derelict alien warship. Old, abandoned, probably forgotten, but it's broadcasting something important. I intercepted it last week while working on comms upgrades. Important how? Danny asked. I don't know yet, Lisa admitted. But whatever it is, it's worth checking out. If we find something big, something that proves humans aren't the problem, it could change everything. Matt studied the map for a moment, weighing the risks. Going rogue meant breaking the law. Breaking the law meant becoming fugitives. But staying put meant giving up. Letting the council win. Okay, he said finally. We'll do it, but we move fast. If the council finds out, we're dead. The others nodded. There was no hesitation, no argument. They all knew what was at stake. Preparations took less time than expected. Lisa double-checked the engines, making sure the Wanderer was ready for anything. Danny ran simulations on possible patrol routes, plotting a course that would keep them hidden. Jamal stocked up on supplies and ammunition, just in case they ran into trouble. Matt coordinated everything, keeping an eye on the clock. Every second counted. As they prepared to launch, Matt gathered the team one last time. Listen, he said, his voice steady. This isn't just about us. It's about proving to the galaxy that humans aren't the monsters they think we are. If we succeed, we give Earth a chance to fight back. If we fail... He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. Just promise me you won't regret trying. No one spoke. They didn't need to. Their resolve was clear. With a final check of the systems, the Wanderer lifted off the ground, leaving Earth behind. Ahead lay the unknown, and the hope of redemption. Hours passed as they traveled deeper into space. The farther they went, the quieter it became. No patrols, no other ships. Just the hum of the engines and the occasional crackle of static over the comms. Finally, they reached the coordinates of the signal. What they found there stopped them in their tracks. Floating, dead in space, was an enormous alien warship. Its sleek design suggested it once belonged to an elite fleet, but now it was battered and scarred, its surface pockmarked with damage. Sections of the hull were missing entirely, exposing twisted metal and sparking wires inside. It's huge, Jamal muttered, staring out the viewport. And old, Lisa added. Look at the corrosion. This thing's been here for centuries. Any sign of life? Matt asked. Danny shook his head. Nothing. No power signatures, no movement. It's dead. Then why is it still sending a signal? Matt wondered. Aloud. That's what we're here to find out, Lisa said, already heading toward the airlock. Let's suit up. One by one, they stepped onto the alien ship. The interior was dimly lit by emergency lights, casting eerie shadows across the walls. Strange symbols covered the bulkheads, glowing faintly in the darkness. The air smelled stale, like something had gone horribly wrong here long ago. This place gives me the creeps, Jamal said, gripping his rifle tighter. Stay sharp, Matt ordered. We don't know what we're dealing with. They moved cautiously, following the source of the signal deeper into the ship. Along the way, they found signs of chaos, overturned furniture, shattered equipment, and strange burn marks on the walls. Whatever happened here, it hadn't been pretty. Eventually, they reached the bridge. In the center of the room was a console, still partially powered. Lisa knelt beside it, connecting her datapad to extract information. I'm in, she said after a moment. Downloading logs now. The screen flickered to life, displaying grainy footage of panicked aliens shouting orders. Explosions rocked, the background as alarms blared. Then came the last message. It doesn't fight. It consumes. What does that mean? Danny asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Before anyone could answer, the ship shuddered violently. Lights flickered, and a low rumble echoed through the corridors. We need to get out of here, Matt said urgently. Now. But as they turned to leave, the sound of engines filled the air. Someone or something was coming. The rumble grew louder, shaking the alien warship like an earthquake. Matt Carver turned to his crew, his voice steady but urgent. "We don't have time to figure out what that noise is. Move." Lisa Harper was still crouched by the console, her fingers flying over her datapad. She glanced up at him, her expression torn. "I'm almost done downloading the logs. If I leave now, we lose everything." Matt clenched his jaw. He wanted to argue, to tell her they didn't have time for this, but he knew she was right. Those logs might hold the key to understanding what happened here. And if they could prove humans weren't the real threat, it might change everything. "Fine," he said finally. "But hurry up. Danny, Jamal, watch the exits. We're not getting caught off guard." Danny Reyes nodded and moved to one side of the bridge, his hand resting on the hilt of his plasma pistol. Jamal Ellis took the other side, gripping his rifle tightly. Both men scanned the shadows, their eyes darting between the corridors leading into the room. The ship groaned again, metal screeching as though it were alive and angry. Lisa worked quickly, her face lit by the glow of her datapad. Numbers and symbols scrolled across the screen as she transferred the data. Finally, she let out a sharp breath. "Got it. Let's go." Matt didn't wait for her to stand. He grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the exit. "Which way back?" "This way," Danny said, pointing down the corridor they'd come through. "It's the shortest route to the airlock." They ran, their boots pounding against the cold metallic floor. The ship continued to shake around them, debris falling from the ceiling. Sparks flew as wires snapped loose and the emergency lights flickered, plunging them into brief moments of darkness. Behind them, the sound of engines grew louder. Whatever was coming, it was close. "Do you think it's council ships?" Jamal asked, glancing over his shoulder. "I don't know," Matt replied, his voice tight. "Could be. Or it could be something worse." No one responded. They didn't need to. The thought hung heavy in the air. What if the thing that destroyed this ship was still here? They reached the airlock just as the first blast hit. The entire structure shuddered, throwing them off balance. Lisa stumbled but caught herself against the wall. Matt grabbed her arm again, pulling her forward. "Keep moving." The outer door of the airlock slid open with a hiss, revealing the Wanderer, waiting outside. Its battered hull gleamed faintly in the dim light, a lifeline amid the chaos. Danny and Jamal boarded first, taking positions near the controls. Matt helped Lisa inside, then turned to seal the door behind them. But before he could, another explosion rocked the alien ship. A chunk of the ceiling collapsed, blocking their path. "Damn it," Matt cursed, slamming his fist against the control panel. The inner door closed automatically, sealing them inside the airlock. "We're trapped," Lisa said, her voice trembling. "No, we're not," Matt shot back. He activated the comm system. "Danny, get us out of here. Now." Outside, the engines of the Wanderer roared to life. The ship lurched forward, breaking free of the docking clamps. For a moment, they were weightless, floating in the vacuum of space. Then the artificial gravity kicked in, pinning them to the floor. Matt scrambled to the cockpit where Danny was already at the controls. "What's out there?" Danny pointed to the viewport. Through the thick glass, they could see 3 sleek, alien warships emerging from hyperspace. Their designs were unmistakable, Zalari vessels sent by the Galactic Council. "They must have tracked us," Jamal said, joining them. "Someone tipped them off." Matt cursed under his breath. Of course someone had tipped them off. This wasn't just about catching rogue humans. It was about making an example of them. If the Council found them, they wouldn't just arrest the crew, they'd destroy the Wanderer too. "Can we outrun them? Can we outrun?" Matt asked, turning to Danny. Danny hesitated, his hands hovering over the controls. "Maybe, but not for long. These ships are faster than we are." Lisa stepped into the cockpit, holding up her datapad. "Then we'll have to lose them. I've been analyzing the terrain ahead. There's an asteroid field about 10 clicks away. If we can slip through it, we might stand a chance." Matt nodded. "Do it." Danny pushed the throttle forward, sending the Wanderer hurtling toward the asteroids. Behind them, the Zalari ships gave chase. firing plasma bolts that streaked past the viewport like streaks of lightning. "We're not going to make it," Jamal muttered, gripping the back of Danny's seat. "Yes, we are," Matt said firmly. "Danny, focus. Lisa, keep monitoring those asteroids. Find us a path." For several tense minutes, the ship careened through space, dodging both enemy fire and chunks of rock. Lisa called out directions, guiding Danny through narrow gaps and around larger obstacles. The Zalari ships followed, their pilots skilled but less maneuverable in the cluttered field. "There!" Lisa shouted suddenly, pointing to a massive asteroid looming ahead. "Go through that gap." Danny adjusted the controls, steering. The Wanderer toward the opening. The ship scraped against the edges, sparks flying as metal grated against stone, but they made it through, emerging on the other side into open space. Behind them, one of the Zalari ships wasn't so lucky. It clipped the edge of the asteroid, spinning out of control before exploding in a burst of flames. "Yes!" Jamal exclaimed, pumping his fist. "That's one down!" But their victory was short-lived. 2 ships remained, closing in fast. "We can't keep running forever," Matt said, his voice grim. "We need a plan." Lisa frowned, tapping furiously on her datapad. "There's a moon nearby with a dense atmosphere. If we dive into it, they might lose track of us." "It's risky," Danny warned. "If we come in too fast, we could burn up." "It's our only shot," Matt replied. "Do it." Danny nodded and adjusted their course once more, aiming for the moon's horizon. As they approached, the ship began to shake violently, heat building up around the hull. The viewport turned orange as flames licked at the edges. "Hold together," Matt thought, gripping the back of Danny's seat. "Just hold together." Seconds felt like hours as they plummeted through the atmosphere. Alarms blared, warning of structural damage. Smoke filled the cockpit, stinging their eyes and lungs. But somehow, the Wanderer held together, skimming the surface of the moon before leveling out and disappearing into the clouds. When they emerged on the far side, the Zalari ships were gone. Matt let out a shaky breath, sinking into the nearest chair. "Good job, everyone. That was insane." "No kidding," Jamal said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Let's never do that again." Lisa sat down beside Matt, her face pale but determined. "We're safe for now, but we can't stay here long. Once they regroup, they'll start searching for us." Matt nodded. "We'll rest for a bit, then figure out our next move. In the meantime," he looked at Lisa. "What did you find in those logs?" She hesitated, her eyes darkening. "It's bad, Matt, really bad." He leaned forward, his heart sinking. "Tell me." Lisa took a deep breath. The signal wasn't a distress call. It was a warning. Something attacked this ship. Something that doesn't fight. It consumes everything. Ships, technology, even thoughts. Whatever it is, it's unstoppable. The room fell silent. No one spoke. No one needed to. They all understood what this meant. If the council didn't believe humans were dangerous before, they would soon enough. Because whatever was out there, it wasn't just coming for humans, it was coming for everyone. The moon's surface stretched out beneath them, barren and desolate. Matt Carver stared at the rocky terrain through the viewport, his mind racing. They'd escaped the Zalari ships for now, but they weren't safe. Not really. If Lisa was right about what was in those logs, then danger wasn't just behind them. It was ahead too. Out there, somewhere in the vastness of space, something was waiting. Something that consumed everything it touched. Matt turned to Lisa Harper, who sat hunched over her datapad in the corner of the cockpit. Her face was pale, her hands trembling slightly as she scrolled through the files she'd downloaded from the alien warship. "Tell me more," he said quietly. "What exactly did you find?" Lisa looked up, her eyes tired but sharp. "It's fragmented. Most of the data's corrupted, but I pieced together enough to understand what happened to that ship." She paused, swallowing hard. "They were sent to investigate an anomaly near the edge of known space. A black hole, maybe, or some kind of energy field. At first, they thought it was harmless. Then, things started going wrong. What kind of things? Jamal Ellis asked, leaning against the wall. His rifle rested across his lap, ready for action. At first, it was small stuff, Lisa explained. Equipment failures, power surges. Then crew members started disappearing, vanishing without a trace. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just gone. She hesitated, her voice dropping lower. And then, the messages stopped making sense. The captain kept talking about it. Something that didn't fight, didn't attack, it just consumed. Ships, technology, even thoughts. Whatever it is, it doesn't destroy. It absorbs. The room fell silent. Even Danny Reyes, usually calm and quiet, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "You're saying this thing eats everything?" he asked finally. "Not just eats," Lisa corrected. "It takes what it needs and leaves nothing behind. Like a virus spreading through a computer network. Once it gets inside, it's over." Matt rubbed his temples, trying to process what she was saying. This wasn't just bad news. It was catastrophic. If something like that existed, it wasn't just a threat to humans or the council races. It was a threat to every living thing in the galaxy. "So what do we do?" Jamal asked, breaking the silence. "We can't fight something like that." "No," Matt agreed. "But we can warn people. If we release the logs, show everyone what we found, maybe they'll listen. Maybe they'll realize the ban isn't about keeping humans out. It's about protecting Earth." Lisa nodded slowly. "It's risky. If the council finds out we have this data, they'll come after us harder than ever. And if they catch us, they won't," Matt interrupted firmly. "We'll make sure of it." Danny spoke up, his voice steady. "How? We barely got away last time. Those ships are faster than us, better armed. If they find us again, we're done." "We use their arrogance against them," Matt replied. "They think we're just a bunch of rogue humans running scared. Let them keep thinking that. Meanwhile, we upload the logs to every open frequency, encrypt them, timestamp them, sign them, make sure everyone knows where they came from, and that they're real." "And hope someone believes us," Jamal muttered. "Someone will," Matt said confidently. "People always believe the truth when it's staring them in the face." Lisa stood up, determination replacing the fear in her eyes. "I'll start prepping the upload. It'll take some time to encode everything properly, but I can do it." "Good," Matt said. "In the meantime, we need to stay hidden. Danny, set a course for the nearest uninhabited system. We'll lay low until the upload's ready." Danny nodded and adjusted the controls, sending the Wanderer hurtling toward deep space. Behind them, the moon grew smaller and smaller, eventually disappearing into the void. Hours passed in tense silence. The crew worked tirelessly, each focused on their task. Lisa stayed glued to her datapad, encrypting the logs and preparing them for transmission. Danny monitored the ship's systems, keeping an eye out for any sign of pursuit. Jamal checked and rechecked their weapons, ensuring they were ready for anything. Matt paced the length of the ship, his mind racing with possibilities. Finally, Lisa looked up. "It's ready," she said. "All we need to do is hit send." Matt joined her at the console, studying the screen. Lines of code scrolled past, each one representing a piece of the puzzle they'd uncovered. "This changes everything," he said softly. "If people see this, they'll understand why the ban was wrong. Why humanity deserves a place in the galaxy. Or they'll panic," Jamal pointed out. "You're talking about showing the entire galaxy that there's something out there capable of wiping out entire fleets. That's not exactly comforting." "It's the truth," Maddie replied. "And sometimes the truth hurts, but it's better than ignorance." Lisa hesitated, her finger hovering over the send button. "Once we do this, there's no going back. The council will know we're responsible. They'll hunt us down." "I know," Matt said. "But it's worth it. For Earth. For everyone." She nodded and pressed the button. Instantly, the data began streaming across every open frequency, spreading like wildfire through the galaxy. There was no turning back now. Almost immediately, alarms blared throughout the ship. Danny cursed under his breath, his hands flying over the controls. "We've got company," he said grimly. "Two ships closing fast." Matt clenched his fists. They must have tracked the upload. "Can we outrun them?" Lisa asked, her voice tight. "Not this time," Danny replied. "They're too close, too fast." "Then we fight," Jamal said, grabbing his rifle. "We've got surprise on our side. Let's use it." Matt shook his head. "No, we don't have the firepower to take them both. Our only chance is to hold them off long enough to finish what we started." "What does that mean?" Lisa asked, fear creeping into her voice. "It means we buy ourselves some time," Matt replied. "Jamal, prep the countermeasures. Danny, keep us moving. Lisa, monitor the upload. I'll handle the rest." Before anyone could argue, Matt headed for the airlock. He grabbed a plasma pistol from the weapons locker and strapped it to his side. Then he opened the outer door, stepping onto the hull of the ship. The cold of space hit him instantly, seeping through his suit. He activated the magnetic boots, anchoring himself to the metal surface. Above him, the two Zalari ships loomed, large, their sleek designs cutting through the darkness like blades. Plasma bolts streaked past, narrowly missing the ship. Matt raised his pistol and fired, aiming for one of the enemy vessel's engines. His shots were small compared to the firepower they wielded, but he didn't need to destroy them. He just needed to distract them. Inside the ship, Jamal worked quickly, launching decoy drones to confuse the enemy sensors. Danny maneuvered. The Wanderer in tight spirals, dodging incoming fire while keeping the upload process intact. Lisa watched, the progress bar inch closer to completion, her heart pounding in her chest. "Almost there," she whispered. "Just a little longer." Outside, Matt continued firing, his movements precise despite the chaos around him. One of the Zalari ships veered off course, its shields flickering as it took damage, but the other remained relentless, closing in on the Wanderer. "We can't hold them off forever," Jamal shouted, ducking as another blast rocked the ship. "Keep trying," Matt yelled back. "We're almost done." Finally, the upload completed. Lisa let out a shaky breath, her shoulders sagging with relief. "It's done," she said. "The logs are out there. Everyone will know." Matt heard her voice crackle through his helmet comms. "Good," he replied. "Now let's get out of here." He turned to head back inside, but froze. The second Zalari ship had positioned itself directly above the Wanderer, its weapons locked onto the hull. There was no escape. "Brace for impact," Danny shouted. A massive explosion rocked the ship, throwing Matt off balance. His magnetic boots failed, and he floated helplessly in space, watching as the Wanderer took hit after hit. Smoke poured from the engines and the lights flickered, dimming dangerously. Then, silence. Matt drifted closer, his heart hammering in his chest. Through the viewport, he could see his crew slumped in their seats, unconscious or worse. The ship's systems were failing, oxygen levels dropping rapidly. "No," he whispered, reaching out as though he could somehow pull them free. But before he could move, a bright light enveloped him. The last thing he saw was the Zalari ship docking with the Wanderer, its boarding party spilling onto the hull. Then everything went black. When Matt woke up, he was lying on a cold metal floor. His head throbbed, and his vision swam as he tried to focus. Slowly, the world came into view. A sterile white room lit by harsh fluorescent lights. Across from him sat Lisa, Danny, and Jamal, all bound by energy cuffs. Their faces were bruised, but they were alive. "Welcome back," Lisa said weakly, managing a small smile. "What happened?" Matt asked, sitting up groggily. "The council caught us," Jamal replied bitterly. "Took us prisoner, thought we were done for." "But we're not," Lisa added. "Not yet." Matt frowned. "What do you mean?" Before she could answer, the door slid open. A tall, stern-looking Zalari officer entered, flanked by two guards. Her skin shimmered faintly in the light, and her eyes glowed with an eerie intensity. "I am Commander Verena Call," she said, her voice smooth but commanding. "You are fortunate to be alive. Most prisoners in your position would already be dead. Why are we still breathing? Matt asked, glaring at her. Because you gave us something valuable, Verena replied. Your logs, your warning. The council has seen the truth. They know the threat is real. Matt's jaw tightened. So what happens now? That depends on you, Verena said. Cooperate and you may live. Resist and you will regret it. Matt glanced at his crew, then back at Verena. We've already done our part. The truth is out there. What you do with it is up to you. Verena studied him for a moment, her expression unreadable. Finally, she turned to leave. Think carefully about your next move, human. You won't get a second chance. As the door closed behind her, Matt leaned back against the wall, letting out a long breath. Well, he said dryly, that could have gone worse. Could have gone better too, Jamal muttered. Lisa smiled faintly. At least we tried. That's more than most people can say. Matt nodded. Yeah, and maybe, just maybe, the galaxy will listen. The cold metal walls of the Zalari cruiser seemed to close in on Matt Carver as he sat with his crew in the sterile white room. His hands were still cuffed with energy restraints, but that wasn't what weighed on him most. What mattered now was whether their gamble had paid off. The logs, the truth, they were out there, floating through the galaxy like a ripple across water. But would anyone listen? Would the council act? Or would fear silence them all? Lisa Harper broke the silence first. Her voice was quiet but steady. Do you think they're watching it? The data we sent? Matt shrugged. Hard to say. If they are, they'll have questions. A lot of them. Jamal Ellis leaned forward, his broad shoulders tense. And if they're not, what then? We just sit here waiting for them to decide our fate. We don't have much choice, Danny Reyes said softly. He rarely spoke, but when he did, everyone listened. They've got us locked up. No way out unless someone helps us. Matt nodded. For now, we wait. But we stay ready, whatever happens next. We can't lose focus. As if on cue, the door slid open again. Commander Verena Cole stepped inside, her glowing eyes scanning the room. She carried a small device in one hand, a holopad, and her expression was unreadable. Behind her, 2 guards stood at attention, their weapons trained on the humans. You've caused quite a stir, Verena began, her tone measured. Your logs, they've been verified. The council has seen them, and they believe you. Matt raised an eyebrow. Believe us about what? About the threat, Verena replied. The entity you warned us about. It's real, and it's closer than anyone realized. Lisa's eyes widened. How close? Verena hesitated before answering. Close enough to pose a danger to every race in the galaxy, including mine. Matt leaned back against the wall, processing her words. So what happens now? You going? To let us go? Or keep us locked up while you figure things out? That depends, Verena said, stepping closer. You humans, you're unpredictable. Dangerous, but also resourceful. Brave. Maybe too brave for your own good. She paused, studying each of them carefully. The council is divided. Some want to execute you for breaking the ban. Others see value in keeping you alive, for now. And what do you want? Matt asked, meeting her gaze. Verena didn't answer right away. Instead, she activated the holopad, projecting an image into the air. It showed a map of nearby star systems, marked with red zones. This is where the anomaly was detected, she explained. Where the alien warship you found came from. We've sent probes, but none have returned. Whatever's out there, it's beyond anything we've faced before. You need us, Lisa said suddenly, realization dawning on her face. That's why you haven't killed us yet. You think we can help? Verena's lips curled into a faint smile. Perhaps. But helping us means risking everything. Are you willing to do that? Matt glanced at his crew. Lisa nodded slightly, her jaw set. Jamal gave a grim smile, gripping his knees tightly. Even Danny looked up, his calm eyes filled with determination. If it means stopping that thing, Matt said finally. Then yes. We're in. Verena studied him for a moment longer, then nodded. Very well. But know this. If you fail, there will be no second chances. For any of us. She turned to leave, motioning for the guards to follow. As the door closed behind her, the room fell silent once more. Well, Jamal muttered, breaking the tension. Looks like we're back in business. Yeah, Matt agreed, standing up. But this time, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for everyone. Ours. Later, the crew was brought to a briefing room aboard the Zalari cruiser. The walls were lined with screens displaying maps, schematics, and streams of data. Council members, aliens of various species, watched silently as Commander Verena Cole addressed the group. This is your mission, she began, pointing to the map. You will return to the anomaly, investigate it, gather intelligence, and, if possible, neutralize the threat. Neutralize? Jamal asked skeptically. How are we supposed to stop something that eats ships and minds? You'll find a way, Verena replied sharply, or die trying. Matt stepped forward, his voice firm. We'll need supplies, weapons, and full access to your databases. If we're doing this, we're doing it our way. The council. Members exchanged glances, murmuring among themselves. Finally, one of them, a tall insect-like creature with shimmering wings, spoke up. Agreed. But remember, failure is not an option. With that, the briefing ended. The crew was escorted back to the Wanderer, which had been repaired and refitted with advanced Zalari technology. New engines, reinforced hull plating, and upgraded weapons made the ship faster and stronger than ever before. As they prepared to launch, Matt gathered the team in the cockpit. Listen up, he said, his voice low but clear. This isn't just about proving ourselves anymore. This is about survival for everyone. If we succeed, we might save the galaxy. If we fail. He trailed off, letting the weight of his words sink in. Just promise me one thing. No matter what happens, we stick together. No one argued. They all knew the stakes. With a final check of the systems, the Wanderer lifted off the cruiser's docking bay and soared into space. Ahead lay the anomaly, the source of the signal that had started it all. And beyond that, the unknown. The journey took days. The closer they got to the anomaly, the stranger things became. Space itself seemed distorted, twisting and bending like liquid. Stars flickered erratically and shadows moved where there should have been none. The ship's sensors went haywire, spitting out garbled readings. It's messing with us, Lisa muttered, frantically typing commands into her console. Whatever this thing is, it's not natural. Stay sharp, Matt ordered. Danny, keep us steady. Jamal, watch the weapons. Lisa, keep monitoring those sensors. If anything changes, I want to know immediately. The crew worked in tense silence, their eyes glued to their stations. Finally, they reached the edge of the anomaly, a swirling vortex of light and darkness, pulsing like a living heartbeat. There it is, Danny said quietly, his voice tinged with awe. Matt stared at the viewport, his chest tightening. Let's do this. Danny eased the ship forward, guiding it into the vortex. Instantly, the world around them shifted, colors blurred, sounds warped, and gravity twisted unpredictably. Alarms blared, warning of structural stress. Hold on, Danny shouted, struggling to maintain control. The ship shuddered violently, throwing them all off balance. Sparks flew from the consoles and smoke filled the cockpit. Then, as suddenly as it began, the chaos stopped. They emerged on the other side, surrounded by a vast empty void. In the distance floated a massive structure, a sphere of glowing energy larger than any planet. It pulsed rhythmically, sending waves of light rippling outward. What is that? Jamal whispered, his voice barely audible. I don't know, Matt admitted, but I'm guessing that's the source of the problem. As they approached, the sphere reacted. Tentacles of light extended toward the Wanderer, probing its hull. The ship's systems faltered, lights flickering and engines sputtering. It's trying to get inside, Lisa said urgently. It's scanning us. Can we block it? Matt asked. I'm trying, Lisa replied, her fingers flying over the controls. But it's too strong. It's overriding everything. Suddenly, the ship lurched, throwing them forward. The viewport filled with blinding light as the sphere enveloped them completely. When the light faded, they found themselves inside the sphere, a surreal landscape of shifting shapes and colors. Strange symbols floated in the air, glowing faintly. Voices echoed around them, speaking in languages none of them understood. "What is this place?" Danny asked, his voice trembling. "It's alive," Lisa said slowly. "This whole thing, it's a mind, a consciousness." Before anyone could respond, a figure materialized before them. It was humanoid, but its form shifted constantly, never staying solid for long. Its eyes glowed with an inner light, and its voice resonated deep within their minds. "You are curious," it said. "Why do you seek me?" Matt stepped forward, his heart pounding. "We're here to stop you, to protect the galaxy." The figure tilted its head, studying him. "Protect? From what? I am knowledge. I am growth. I consume only to expand." "We saw what you did to that alien ship," Lisa interjected. "To its crew, you didn't just consume them, you erased them." "They resisted," the figure replied simply. "Resistance is futile." "No," Matt said firmly. "Not everyone resists. Some adapt, some learn. That's how life survives." The figure paused, considering his words. "Perhaps, but adaptation takes time. Time I do not have." Matt clenched his fists. "Then give us time. Let us show you another way." For a long moment, the figure remained silent. Then it spoke again, its voice softer. "Very well, I will observe, but know this. If you fail, I will continue my work." With that, the sphere dissolved around them, releasing the wanderer back into normal space. The crew sat in stunned silence, unsure of what had just happened, or whether they'd truly succeeded. Matt broke the silence first. "We bought ourselves some time. Now we need to use it wisely." Lisa nodded. "I'll start analyzing the data we collected. Maybe we can find a weakness." Jamal grinned faintly. "And I'll make sure our guns are ready, just in case." Danny adjusted the controls, steering the ship toward home. One step at a time. As the wanderer sped through the stars, Matt gazed out the viewport, his mind racing. They'd faced the impossible, and lived. But the fight was far from over. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. The journey back to Earth felt longer than the trip out. Maybe it was because of the weight of what they'd seen, or maybe it was the uncertainty of what came next. Matt Carver sat in the cockpit of the Wanderer, staring at the stars streaking past the viewport. The glowing sphere, the entity, was behind them now, but its presence lingered in their minds. Its words echoed like a warning. "If you fail, I will continue my work." Matt clenched his fists on his knees. Failure wasn't an option. Not this time. Not when the stakes were so high. Lisa Harper worked tirelessly in the ship's engineering bay, analyzing the data they'd collected from the anomaly. Her face was pale, her eyes bloodshot from hours of staring at screens. "It's complicated," she admitted when Matt joined her. "This thing, it's not just consuming matter or energy. It's absorbing knowledge, memories, thoughts. It's like a living database growing bigger every time it takes something new. Can we stop it?" Matt asked bluntly. Lisa hesitated, her fingers pausing over the console. "I don't know. Maybe. If we can find a way to disrupt its core processes, if we can overload it somehow, we might be able to slow it down. But that's a big if." "We'll figure it out," Matt said firmly. "We've got no other choice." Jamal Ellis leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "You think anyone back home will believe us about this thing?" "They have to," Matt replied. "The logs we sent, they're proof. And if that's not enough, we'll show them ourselves." Danny Reyes remained quiet as usual, but his calm demeanor had shifted slightly. There was tension in his posture, a tightness around his eyes. He didn't say much, but Matt could tell he was worried. They all were. When they finally reached Earth's orbit, the planet below looked peaceful. Blue oceans, green continents, and swirling white clouds stretched out beneath them. But Matt knew better. Beneath that serene surface, humanity was divided. Some would see them as heroes for uncovering the truth. Others would call them traitors for breaking the ban. Either way, they were about to face judgment. As they descended through the atmosphere, communications crackled to life. A voice came, through the speakers, stern and commanding. "Unidentified vessel, you are ordered to land immediately. You are under arrest for violating the Galactic Council's travel ban." Matt exchanged a glance with Lisa. "Here we go." They landed at a military base outside the city, where soldiers in full gear surrounded the ship. Armed guards escorted them off the Wanderer and into a secure facility. Inside, a panel of human leaders waited, generals, scientists, and politicians, all watching them with wary expressions. One of the generals, a grizzled man named Colonel Hayes, spoke first. "You've caused quite a mess, breaking the ban, stealing alien tech, releasing classified data." He shook his head. "Do you even realize what you've done?" Matt stepped forward, his voice steady. "We did what we had to do. Out there, beyond our borders, there's something coming. Something bigger than any of us. Bigger than the council races. It doesn't fight. It consumes. Ships, technology, people, everything. If we don't prepare, it'll destroy us all." "Colonel?" Hayes frowned. "And you expect us to take your word for it?" "No," Matt replied. "I expect you to look at the evidence. We brought back data from the anomaly. Logs, readings, everything we could gather. It's all right here." He gestured to Lisa, who held up her datapad. For a moment, the room was silent. Then one of the scientists, a woman with sharp features and glasses, spoke up. "Let me see it." Lisa handed over the datapad, and the scientist began scrolling through the files. Her expression grew darker with each passing second. Finally, she looked up, her voice trembling. This is real. It's worse than we thought." Colonel Hayes leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "Explain." The scientist took a deep breath. "This entity, it's not just a threat to ships or colonies. It's a threat to intelligence itself, to civilization. If it spreads unchecked, it won't just wipe us out. It'll erase everything we've built. Our history, our culture, our very existence." The room fell silent. Even the hardened military officers seemed shaken. Matt seized the opportunity. "We can stop it, but we need help. From everyone. Humans, council races, anyone willing to fight. Together, we might stand a chance." Colonel Hayes studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "All right, you've got your shot. But if this goes sideways, it's on you." Matt didn't hesitate. "Understood." Hours turned into days as humanity mobilized. Governments pooled resources, independent. Ships formed ad hoc fleets and volunteers poured in from every corner of the globe. Scientists worked around the clock, studying the data Lisa had gathered and devising countermeasures. Weapons engineers designed new tools to disrupt the entity's processes, while strategists planned how to confront it head-on. Meanwhile, news of the threat spread across the galaxy. At first, skepticism reigned. Many dismissed the warnings as fear-mongering or propaganda, but as more evidence surfaced, including testimony from Commander Verena Cole and other council members, the tide began to turn. Alien races that had once mocked humans now saw them in a new light, not as reckless aggressors but as brave defenders of the galaxy. Finally, the day came. A massive fleet assembled near the edge of known space, ready to face the anomaly. Human ships flew alongside Zalari cruisers, insectoid fighters, and vessels from dozens of other species. For the first time in history, the galaxy stood united, not against each other but against a common enemy. Matt stood on the bridge of the Wanderer, looking out at the armada. His crew gathered around him, their faces tense but determined. "Yui, ready for this?" Jamal asked, gripping his rifle tightly. "As ready as I'll ever be," Matt replied. "Let's finish what we started." With a final nod to the others, Danny guided the Wanderer toward the vortex. Behind them, the fleet followed, weapons charged and shields raised. As they entered the anomaly, the familiar chaos returned. Space twisted and warped, throwing the fleet into disarray. Ships struggled to maintain formation, their systems faltering under the strain, but they pressed on, driven by sheer willpower. When they emerged inside the sphere, the glowing entity awaited them. Its form shifted and expanded, tentacles of light reaching out to probe the fleet. Voices whispered in countless languages, filling the void with eerie echoes. "You return," it said, its voice resonating in their minds. "Why do you resist?" Matt stepped forward, addressing the entity directly. "Because we're not just survivors. We're builders, creators, and we won't let you take that away from us." The entity paused, its glow dimming slightly. "Resistance is futile." "Not this time," Matt countered. "We've learned, we've adapted, and now, we're ready." With that, the fleet opened fire. Plasma bolts, missiles, and energy. Beams streaked through the void, striking the entity's core. At first it seemed unaffected, absorbing the attacks effortlessly. But then, cracks began to appear in its surface. Fissures of darkness spread outward, disrupting its glow. Lisa shouted from her station, "It's working! Keep hitting it!" The battle raged on, each ship pouring everything it had into the fight. Human pilots dodged incoming attacks with precision, while alien engineers reinforced failing systems. Together they pushed the entity back, forcing it to retreat. Finally, with a deafening roar, the entity collapsed in on itself, imploding into a singularity before vanishing completely. Silence filled the void. The fleet hovered in stunned disbelief, their weapons still trained on the empty space where the entity had been. "It's gone," Lisa whispered, tears streaming down her face. Matt sank into his chair, exhaustion washing over him. "Yeah, it's gone." Back on Earth, the victory was celebrated across the globe. Humanity had proven itself, not just to the council races, but to themselves. They weren't perfect, but they were strong, brave, determined. In the weeks that followed, the Galactic Council lifted the travel ban, acknowledging humanity's role in saving the galaxy. Matt and his crew became symbols of hope, their story told in holovids and news reports across the stars. But for Matt, the real victory wasn't fame or recognition. It was knowing that they'd made a difference, that when the galaxy needed heroes, they'd stepped up. As he stood before a crowd of thousands holding up the cracked data core that had started it all, Matt smiled faintly. "They laughed," he said, his voice ringing clear. "But we didn't laugh back. We looked, death in the eye, and brought the truth home." The screen behind him replayed the logs one last time. This time the galaxy listened.